Hello, everyone. Good evening, and welcome to tonight's session of Unplugged with Ross. My name is Roslyn Miner, and tonight's topic is pivot points, reinventing yourself mid career. So, oftentimes, people, either have an idea or are struggling or weighing options of, is this really what's cut out for me? And tonight's panelist is none other than Reverend Canon Stefan Obongo, who is a certified accountant. He's a certified HR professional and is also thriving as a priest at ACK St. Mary's Syokimau Parish. So tonight's session is we are going to hear from someone who has been there, done that, and is thriving in what he is doing. So, as is the norm, let us see what are some of the interesting statistics or facts that are there in terms of pivot points. Career reconsideration is widespread. A 2025 FlexJobs survey found that 69% of workers have either changed careers or seriously considered doing so in the past year. Another interesting thing is that people rethink careers at all stages. Nearly half of professionals globally have made career shifts, and among those who haven't, 65% have either considered or are contemplating a change, highlighting that the idea of pivoting isn't unusual or rare. Career mobility is becoming normal. In many talent reports, over 40% of workers have experienced a career pivot in the last few years, and traditional linear career paths are increasingly uncommon. So, as you can see, career pivots are not, something that is new. It's something that has been there and it's becoming more and more normal or part of our everyday life. So I welcome Stefan tonight as we get to discuss this very important topic that some people may be struggling with. Karibu sana.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Rocky, for the opportunity to be here this evening.
I
I
appreciate it.
really to the engagement.
Fantastic. Fantastic. So let us get right to it. When you look back, what moment or season signaled that it was time for you to shift direction?
Thanks. First of all, I'm looking at the statistics that you just shared, and it
Yeah.
is quite interesting. Perhaps maybe I just wanted to challenge you a bit to look at these statistics before you even come to that stage where you are saying that now you are changing your career. I
Uh-huh.
don't know whether you've thought about career change in your mind, especially at the point when you are, just entering the job market. You know,
I, I
there's this economic, terminology that we call disguised unemployment, which
mm-hmm.
basically reminds us that a good proportion of people, even in their careers or in the
Yeah.
workplace, are in careers that actually they never trained for. And why is that happening like that? It's because after graduation or after school, you find some people get into the job that is available.
Yeah.
So, like for example, in the banking industry, I have so many people who are in tailoring job, who are cashiers, who are in sales, who actually trained as doctors, trained as lawyers, trained as accountants. So I normally, when I have discussion with the young people who are joining the career, for me that is in itself, a pivot. Because when I was in school, I was being trained. Like for example, if you take my case, I did my bachelor's and in business administration accounting option. But when I got to the job market, I could not get any accounting job. So I ended up in a banking industry as a teller, doing something completely different from what was in my mind when I was preparing myself to join the career. So I think that one also is an important statistic that you should think about, because if you do not take it and set it properly in your mind, then you find you have challenges with your career. Now, to the question that you have actually just asked, at what moment, yeah, did it, or what signaled for me that particular thing? One thing that for me is very, very critical is once I've been in a position or in a role and I feel that I've given it all, I start seeing that the solutions that I'm giving are the same solution. It's becoming repetitive. Then in my mind, I start shifting on what is it that I can be able to do new, or what is it that I can be able to achieve better, and my dreams that I had. How can I be able to explore them, perhaps in a better option?
Now, that is very interesting. The repetitive nature of a job was one of your motivating factors.
Yeah,
And that is something a lot of us struggle with, to be very honest. You get into your job at the very beginning, it's very exciting, you're learning new things. But at some point, you find yourself, you can actually close your eyes and get the job done.
yeah,
Now, not everyone has that luxury of getting that jump. That's one. Two,
mm,
there's also that aspect of fear
mm,
that if I change, what if I fail?
mm,
So the repetitive nature of the job was one of your motivating factors. But now, how did you go about? It's a risk. I bet you
mm,
did the risk assessment. Now, how did you get to move your mindset from, okay, it can work, it cannot work, to,
mm,
okay, I'm making this shift? How,
mm.
how, how was that process like?
Uh, I think, first of all, one of my main trigger was basically the discussion that I've just had, I've just given you. No, first of all, my career in accounting was, in the olden days, the children of today have the luxury of choosing their careers on their own. During our time, your parents will tell you, "I want you to do this." Yeah, like for example, my father was an accountant. And when I was in school, I was very good in maths. So when my father looked at me and he said, "This is an accountant to take after me." So out of that, I found myself in the workplace doing a job. First of all, after training as an accountant, then I don't get that particular job. I graduated well. I did very well in my school. Graduated with a first class honors. Now I was really, my dream was that let me align with what my father wanted me to do. And then I get into the job place, I don't get that job. But eventually, when I got into the account finance department, I found that this is really not what was meant for me. Yeah. I realized that I'm carrying my father's dream in my life. So things actually didn't align for me so well. So that in itself placed me into a place whereby I now start assessing what is really good for me. And I also thank God for the conversation of the disguised unemployment that I've spoken about, because during the time now I was looking for this job in finance department, I got an opportunity now to work in customer service. I work in as a relationship manager. Then I got became a supervisor. Now I realized that my potential, actually my strength, was in working with people. So when now that boredom came in with repetitive work in finance, it was a very easy decision. It was not something that I even struggled with. But of course, yes, even at my place of work, I was good in my work. So even the people that I was working with, when I said I want to move now into HR, they didn't understand. Actually, they knew I would fail and come back to in my finance space. So for me, that change was something that was actually very seamless.
So this sounds like the way you grow in a path that you did not anticipate, and then you've come to realize one of the strengths that you have
Mm.
naturally, unlike what has been forced to for you to go. Now, how how do you personally define success before the pivot, and how has that definition changed?
Okay, for me, success is a very interesting thing. Yeah. For all of us, when we are looking for an opportunity, or even when we get an opportunity, there is a dream that we have. I have a dream that I want to become a finance person. Now, that would be, for example, my case when I got myself in the banking industry. Then I don't get it, and eventually I'm there. I have gotten it. So how did I really feel that I was successful? First of all, getting that job after like about 6 years, having graduated very well, knowing that I will get into the job market and things will happen. Then eventually, when I'm there, I try to do my work. I try to do everything very well. I've learned because again, irrespective of whether you are trained well, again when you get to the workplace, there will be a lot of training that is taking place. The moment I realized there is nothing that I'm learning new, I knew I am there. I knew I'd succeeded. I knew I'd conquered my expectation and my world within that environment. So I took that opportunity and that strength to think of how can I be able to use the position that I am now to be able to launch into another space, thinking very clearly in the people space. So for me, success was actually being able to learn as much as possible to the point that there was nothing new that I'm learning in the department. So, sometimes I normally enjoy and tell people that, experience is just one thing that you know in a year that will repeat several years. So the moment I am not able to learn anything, I feel that I have achieved, and for me, that is the level of success, especially within the career space. Of course, yes, there is a monetary conversation that also comes with it as you grow in the. But I think for a very long run in our careers, money is just one of the indicators, and there are many other things that you also enjoy on the process, and that you call success even as you grow in your career.
Now, if I can build up to that, you spoke about, you've had your 6 years in accounting. You've done everything that you can. And earlier you mentioned that you decided I want to pivot into HR. Now, HR is one of the facets that you can work with people, but also there is the sales part, there is the marketing part. How did you, all these other roles that can actually will have you people first? How did you come to the conclusion of, what, marketing is not for me, sales is not for me, customer service or whatever kind of similar role is not for me. HR is what would be a best fit for me. How did you come about, or how did you go about making that decision that this is the direction I want to make?
Mhm. Thanks. I think some of these are just the triggers that you get in this opportunity or in the space that you've gotten. Like I've already mentioned, before I even moving to accounting department, I worked in the other department within the bank as a team leader. So I had a team of 13 people, and working in an organization that is very people centric. I was working with Barclays Bank then. Team management and supervision, being a supervisor was a big thing in the organization. There was a lot of expectation put on you by the organization. I had metrics on growing people, ensuring that within my team people grow to another level, training them, ensuring that they have the right skill. So in that space where I was given that leadership role, where I am the one now taking charge of supporting people, that is where now I realized that this is really where my space is. Because I can remember when I took over the role as merchant services team leader, I had a team of 16 people. By the time I was moving out of that role in about 3 years, over 10 of them had grown into other areas. So I realized that I have a strength to be able to support people to grow and to move. And the best place I could be able to fit that basically was in HR. So that is how basically I was able to make a choice that now I'm tired with finance and accounting, then let me move into this space. But for sure, I will tell you, I was not even accepted in HR as fast as you may want to think. Because sometimes I normally tell people my appearance, is not very comely. So people think that I'm like very tough,
Mhm.
especially when they have not encountered a relationship with me or worked closely with me. So me, I knew inwardly that I can work very well with people. I'd supported people to grow, and then I wanted now to play it at an organizational level, not just at a team level. So that's how I made my choice to move now from finance into HR.
Now, before I go to the next question, when you got into the HR journey, where did you start? Because you're coming from accounts, you had this role, you had this team, and obviously you're transitioning from one function to the next. Obviously, there are some, you know, expertise that you can roll over. As a matter of fact, your accounting background was a very strong skill set for you.
Mm, mm.
So, where did you start off when it comes to your HR journey? And this is mainly maybe for someone who's thinking, I have reached at this level of my career, and maybe making a switch might mean taking a couple of steps back. What does that mean for me? And how do you manage that, that transition and mindset?
I think one thing that I can tell everybody that career change is not a one day thing. Please don't wake up and say that I am an accountant. Tomorrow I want to be an HR person. I am an accountant. Tomorrow I want to be a lawyer. Career change is something that you deliberately plan for. You build skills, you build capabilities. Because remember, by the time I was now moving into HR, I was a senior manager. I could not go into HR and start from a clerical job. Nobody will accept me. I was too expensive for a clerical job role. So I was going into a strategic space. Then how do you prepare yourself for that career change in that space? First of all, in my case, when I just realized that I have strength for people, the first thing I did is I enrolled for HR, training. So I did a higher diploma in human resource management to prepare me for that change. Then I enrolled for my master's in human resource management. Then I graduated with the human resource management before moving actually even into HR. And within the organization, I would deliberately take roles and responsibility that are HR related or that are close to HR. At one point in time, I even spoke to my director and went to relieve one of the senior managers within HR when they were going on leave. So it's a deliberate thing that you plan for. You prepare yourself so that when you land in that space, okay, because again, when you're talking about career change, when you're changing your career, perhaps you are not as young, eh? You are no longer a Gen Z. Even in the space where you go, you are going to get people who are younger, and you can't start playing in that career, as an amateur. Yeah. So that preparation is very critical. And don't think about career change and you say that I want to change tomorrow. Plan for it, prepare yourself, start building some small skills that are very important. But again, I want to say that don't underestimate also the experience that you have in the current career because they will stand in very handy in that new space. For example, I will tell you, in HR, we do a lot of finance things, like the numbers, reporting on numbers, budgeting, medical. So when I went into HR, I took anything that was number related. So I was the giant. Actually, I was the go-to in that space. They were looking at, yeah, this guy is a genius. If you take me back to finance with the things that I was doing there, I was nothing. Actually, they were nothing. Everybody knew what I was doing. So I was leveraging on that experience to entrench. So I teach you one small thing which appear big to you, then you teach me a big thing which is very, which you'll see as very small. So that interchange helps you to build in the new career space.
So, that is what you've mentioned is very key. Number one, deliberately planning for the change. You just don't wake up and, so you have to train, as in make those intentional changes. If you need to train, do the training before you make that pivot. Build on your skills. And last but not least, leverage on your skills because they are transferable. So how can you build on that? And I think maybe sometimes that's why we fall short, where you only think that because you're moving from one space to the next is you don't have much to offer, and we forget that what we've been doing for so long has an angle that you can actually apply to where you want to make that change. Now, many people struggle with letting go of a professional identity. What helped you detach from a single title or label?
It was it. I think it is not something that you let go completely. Many a times when we go for these HR conferences in Mombasa,
Yeah.
and I find myself we are in the same venue, ISPAC on the other end, and HR on this other end. I feel that tendency that I should be on the other end. So it is not something that you completely let go. Yeah. But one thing that I think is very, very important is this journey that I'm talking about planning, yeah, deliberately putting it into your mind that I'm actually now moving, yeah, and how you are received on the other end, again, is very, very important to help you leave your position on this other end. Now, let me give you a good example. If I'd grown to a very senior level, I had a certain level of respect, and we are very egocentric as people, yeah. I have some level of loyalty, and then I move into a different career and a different position where I start as an amateur. In the ego in me will still be that big, eh?
Yes.
But here I'm finding people who should be, at lower level than me, but they are now senior, and that is now where I'm saying you must be deliberate. Start playing in your level before you move into that new career. Like what I'm trying to say, I made sure that I identify things that the people within the HR will be struggling with. And when I go there, I hit. So I play at a very higher level, even at entry point. So you find a way that deliberately, when you are moving your career into another space, you will be playing at a very higher level. All these careers will be having, mixed elements of other careers. So for example, I sit down and I look at HR and I identify within this HR, there are this element of finance in it. I enter at that level. So I will be easily accepted and I will find myself easy to leave my former title or my former space because I'm entering almost in that level going up. But if you dip yourself, as today I'm a senior accountant, I go into HR and then I start with the clerical job, I'm doing the interview, you will not make it. Actually, you'll be frustrated.
Simply because it is not building into you, it's like you just changed the playing field from one to the next.
True.
So in essence, you have to identify like your unique value proposition. What is your unique identifier, and how can you build on that as a strength that people can actually see, oh, this work for us, and this is how you are filling that gap.
Yes. Very, very
Okay.
critical. You must go there with something. When you are moving into a new career, don't go empty-handed. Go with something that is very strong. That
Yeah.
when they see you entering, they actually they thank God. Let me give you a very good example. Every time I do my papers, my board papers or my HR paper, my salary, finance people don't question. We go into a meeting, they don't question. The moment they've seen my signature signed on it, they know this is one of us, you understand. Even sometimes, you make a mistake. But even when they realize that mistake, they don't hit on you like they will hit a plain HR person coming with that because their assumption in their mindset is that you don't know. So identifying that puts you in a strong position on both sides. And where, for example, you see board meetings now, you have HR, you have finance, you have these different people. The finance people will be holding you up because they know that you are one of them. But you must be playing at that level.
So this is not the angle where you're just making a pivot. Something people need to be very clear. You're not just making a pivot for the sake of it. You have to be very intentional about it, and you have to add value
True.
that people see, okay, what is differentiating you with everyone else that we have interacted with? And then they will see that, okay, this person is understanding of, okay, this new area that they are at, but they are adding, they're enriching the space and not just making our lives harder as we go.
Or filling somebody's opportunity that they should have grown into.
Not true. I actually that is very true. I think sometimes we forget that there was someone who was aiming for that same position, but you
But
got it.
yes,
All right. So how do you separate who you are from what you do, especially during times of transition? And in this case, I've encountered you as a lecturer, I've encountered you as a chaplain, I've encountered you as a HR colleague, all these different facets. Now, not everyone will have encountered you in that space, and anyone else will have a story to tell. So, how do you separate who you are and what you do?
that's a very interesting question, and it's a question that actually I meet all the time. People ask me,
Mhm.
as a priest, you're supposed to be praying for people to go to heaven. How comes you are terminating some people from employment? Is there not a conflict of interest? Of course, yes. I mean, sometimes you have to make very hard decisions. Sometimes I've found myself that I have to separate people from from work. But what is normally very clear for me, because you see, religion is a very important thing for me. But the Bible is also very clear in terms of guidance on how we should be able to to work. If you read the book of Colossians chapter 3, there is a very clear instruction to workers, and there is also a clear instruction to management, or I mean to the employers for that matter. So for me, it's a very easy balance because I play by the rules. I play by the policies. I play by the word of God, and I separate myself from the work. For me, anything that I do is just work as it is supposed to be done. No favoritism. Sorry, I was saying that I completely separate myself from any element of what I do. I have given, consultancy services to church, even on separation. That
Yeah.
is very, very clear, pegged on the policies and the procedures. But I try. One thing that I try very, very much is to ensure that people make the right decisions, that are not malicious on people. I support. I've protected many staff in instances that they are facing separation that again are not well founded. One thing that I can say that God has blessed me with is that this position as being a priest, even at the corporate space, people know that I'm above board. So even my leaders respect the work that I do. If I say that I've been forced to do anything by any of my line managers, I'll be telling a lie. So you see, I differentiate myself in such a way that it is so crystal clear. If you are coming to me with something that is not right, actually you'll make that decision not to come. And then I throw myself into ensuring that I give valued service. You've encountered me in the class. I know I've really gelled very well with many students, anybody who has come to my class, because I respect people. I always tell my students, I'm a lecturer today because I was born before you. If you are born before me, you will be my lecturer. So that respect and understanding and appreciating people as who they are is what has also given me a lot of leverage in how I do my work at a very arm length, conversation and level.
And I support that in the sense of the need to be ethical, the need to stand on your values, integrity, and to play by the rules. Because crossing over to the other side, the line is always very thin. So to avoid that ambiguity, yes, it's critical that play by the rules, have integrity, be ethical, and have your values.
True.
Looking back, which skills or values carried over most seamlessly into your next chapter? And I think you had touched on this earlier, but for someone who's joining us now, care to touch on that?
Mm. Thanks. You know, an organization is a system, and it is a system that is composed of parts. Finance cannot work without HR. Operation cannot work without HR. HR cannot work without sales, and marketing. All these, they have to come together.
Yeah.
So, as an HR practitioner, especially in the world of today, you must be in a position to find a way that you gel into all those professions. So for me, the skills that I acquired within the accounting space, yeah, and even the opportunity, that for example, right now, if you ask me whether I can work in sale, I will tell you with a lot of, authority that yes, I can, because when I was in finance, I was actually a business partner, a finance business partner for retail banking. I did partnership for corporate banking. I did the partnership for treasury. So I understand the dynamics of all this. And those skills are helping me a lot now when I'm in HR, because I have to develop JD for people. I have to, develop policies and procedures for people. I need that skill. I have to do budgeting. I need my finance skill. So all that and the knowledge that you get or the experience that you come with into the profession, into your new career, they are very critical. At any one point in time, we form, something like a quality circle where we have a problem to be solved. It's very easy for me to connect into an understanding in the perspective of a finance person, and that helps me now to be able to bring my people within the HR in an understanding. You see, now you are playing like you are a middleman between the two professions, and therefore it gives you an opportunity now to be able, even decisions are easier because my HR people are depending on me to understand what the finance are saying, and the finance people are depending on me so that I can be able to signal for them that the finance side in HR is safe. So use that as an advantage to be able to balance that. So that skill is very, very important. Every time before in my team, before people do anything that they send to finance, they will just want me to have a look at it. You know, so it makes me dependable. It increases my value even in the way we work, and that's very great. The experience is very great.
So that what I hear is the value of cross-functional collaboration.
True.
Taking the time to understand other functions, whether you are pivoting or not, it is important that you understand, if, for example, in HR, how do salespeople work? What are their pain points? What are the pain points when it comes to finance? What do marketing people need? And all of this, actually, and I've seen it, and it's very true, that when you master cross functional collaboration, it is very easy for you to like get to understand how those people think
Yes.
and why they operate the way they do. And therefore, should you ever pivot to another function or not, or to another organization that the way the organogram has been structured is different, you will not have a hard time adjusting, because in essence you've become agile as you go. So yes, cross-functional collaboration is key. And as you've said, when you've mastered that, people see your value and you become dependable, someone that is trustworthy. So people actually look up to you and they respect you. Now, what's something you now realize? That one you've already answered. How can professionals better recognize the value of their existing experience when considering a change? So the transferable skills.
What I mentioned, that the moment you find that you want to change your career, please be very deliberate to understand where you want to go. Be very deliberate. Because, by the way, I've seen people who have made a move and come back. Because sometimes you go into something that you are not prepared for. There is normally of grass is greener on the other side. Sometimes it is not. I'll give you an example. When I was in finance, finance people generally they are seen to to be very busy, to work a lot, and to the point that sometimes when you're in finance, you look at HR and the people in HR, and you are like, what do these people do? In fact, many a times people ask those kind of questions. You'll be so much surprised. I've worked sometime late in HR than I ever did when I was in finance. So before you make a career change, please be very clear in an understanding of the horizon where you are going to. And it's very easy because when the beauty about career pivot, it happens when you are I would say mature in your career. Hardly would you find people start thinking about career changes at the very early paces of pace of their life. Other ones than that, we saw, those ones are those accidental ones that I was in this job as a clerk, then I get into HR. For me, those are not necessarily the kind of career, pivot that we are discussing today. For me, I'm looking at our discussion today that I'm an accountant, I'm a well-grounded accountant like now, me, or I have like 5 years or 10 years of experience, that I am already good at what I'm doing, then I'm deciding to make a change. If that is the space where you are, then be very deliberate. Ensure that you understand what you are moving into. Ensure that you know what is needed, so that in terms of academic or trainings, you prepare yourself, you build that capacity in advance, so that when you get into the other side, what you'll be struggling with is the practicals. The theory you packed through preparation in learning. If you don't do that, then you can be so surprised that you can get there and then you find yourself moving, making a step back. And I've seen people and I'm not saying that making stepping back is bad. Sometimes it's also very good to explore because it gives you an opportunity when you come back now to appreciate people on the other side who perhaps you are looking at and asking, what do they do in HR?
Yeah.
So those kind of question again, they can help you understand. It also gives you an opportunity to, to appreciate where and what you are. So if I go, I thought of a career that I thought was very good. I move there and I come back. I will have a respect for my career now, and I can actually be able to grow it. But at the end of the day, is how are you improving or how are you growing as a person? That is also part of growth for me.
I agree. If you just make a jump for the sake of it, or even if it's not for the sake of it, but you have not really thought it through, the probability of you getting frustrated upon arrival is actually higher
True,
than if you've really thought it through and mapped it out.
true.
What were some of the quiet fears you had to confront before making the shift?
Well, okay. Truly, when the idea of a change came to me, my first biggest problem was how was I going to acquire all these skills? And by the way, my move into HR is not. I'm just about 9 years in HR now, and of course, at my age, you can see that I made my career move at a very advanced age. So my fear was how was I going to build all these, competencies and capability. Number two was I really going to be, to add value, or was I going to play at a very low level? Again, the thing that I really don't want, like I was telling you, you have already moved, you are a senior manager, and you are moving into another department, and you don't have, enough skills. You can only be able to operate as as a junior or a, first level manager in terms of your productivity. For me, that was a big fear because I was like, I want to make this career change or this career move, but I must be able to perform at a very strategic level to add value. I believe in a quid pro quo, something for something. Not that I'm in a department, I'm just a body there, but I'm not adding value in that space. So that for me was the biggest fear. Will I add value? And that informed my preparation in terms of schools, in terms of job shadowing. Like I've told you, at one point in time, I went and relieved somebody in an HR department. So that preparation, it came as a result of the fear of how will it be on the other side.
So what is coming through is when you pivot, you don't play low, you go big, and you go big intentionally, because by pivoting you are trying to add more value to your life. You are not trying to, take your or bring yourself down.
Um,
And I think one of the things people need to appreciate is when we say change is the only constant, but also change is the one thing that a lot of people struggle with. So if you're going to go down this route, you have to appreciate that you're not doing it for the sake of it. And if you're not ready to go big, might as well stay where you're at until you have really intentionally, curated what it is that you want for yourself. Makes sense. Okay. For those waiting for certainty, what would you say about timing and trust? And this is something, pivot or no pivot. I don't feel ready. I'm not ready enough. It doesn't matter if it's on the same role. Someone tells you, is this, an opportunity for you to get a promotion, and someone is there saying, I don't feel ready, etc., etc. So, what would you tell people when it comes to timing, trust, and certainty?
thanks so much. First of all, before I even answer that question, something has just crossed my mind.
Mhm.
When we think about pivot, there is an intentional pivot and there is the change that is forced on you.
True.
It's still career change. I'll give an example. You may lose your job to say, in HR, and you find somebody giving you an opportunity in finance because they thought that being a banker, you understand that.
Yeah.
I've seen that happening to somebody. You are in this career, you are in bank, so people think that when you are a bank, you are a finance person, you understand, and then it changes. So again, how then do you position yourself in that space? So I think that is very, very clear, and that is very, very important. Back to the question that you asked, you just spam me up. It was
The question is, for those waiting for certainty,
okay.
what would you say to them about timing and trust?
Thanks. There is normally nothing like certainty. Even within our same career, nothing is certain. Me, I believe in building my capacity through experience, and the experience is doing it. You cannot wait to be a senior HR manager before you get into that space. Start. There is a low term, we say chak. Achak, I mean just start. Whatever you want to do, if you want to change your career and you want to be, to grow in that career, you have to start. Procrastination, fear will only take you far from being able to move and get whatever you want to get in your career. So there is nothing called certainty. Forget about it. And if you wait until you are certain, I think it will be too long a wait. So for me, I normally move. The moment I feel I signal that I want to move, what I do, I look for the tools to move. And when I get an opportunity, I move. Growth finds me on the way.
That is very key. Growth as you go. Because I think sometimes we wait for the perfect, climate, the
Not there.
perfect everything. And it's the same as, for example, anyone who is getting into entrepreneurship or has an idea, or maybe even you want to be an author or you have a talent. It doesn't matter if it's baking or singing, whatever. But you think that let me do this and then I will do that. And we often learn that unfortunately, a lot of people in their deathbed, they usually say, I wish I had.
Mm.
And it's because of lost opportunity, because you are always looking for the absolute perfect time to get on with it. So just get on with it,
Mm.
but not just for the sake of it. Just get on with it. Think it through and then just get on with it. As we say in Kenya, utajulia mbele. You
Mm.
know,
True, true, true.
everything else will find you up ahead. All right. Now, we often talk about pivots mid career, but change doesn't stop there. How do you think about reinvention in later stages of life? So a lot of times people will say when you get to 40, that's so that it's around the time of midlife crisis, and everyone thinks that all the changes that you're taking or making may be big as a result of a crisis. But sometimes a lot of people get at a certain point in their life and they're thinking, you know what, if I'm always playing by these, four box rules, I will never see beyond this. So when it comes to reinvention in life, and if we take you as an example, started with accounts, got into HR, and at the same time you have the passion of, you're a priest and all these other big wonderful things that you're doing. How can someone go about reinventing themselves even away from the career?
I think for me, that's a big conversation. Life is not a straight line for me. That's what I'm so sure about.
Yeah.
Even within that same careers, you'll have ups and downs. There'll be moments that you think that I should not have been here. There are moments that you look at your life, even economically, you are not driving the kind of car that you had dreamed for. You wanted to drive at a certain point in life. But the question is, how do you get to where you want to go? It's building it slowly by slowly, being very deliberate, being very consistent, and building day by day. I've seen, even in places where I work, I've seen people who say that I'll start saving when I start earning this amount of money. They're like the ones that now, even in careers, yeah, people think like that, that when I get to this stage is when I'll make this. They don't know that they are the small things that you are doing on a day by day that build who you now become those 5 years that you are looking for ahead. You put it very clearly. Even authors, if you write books, I've written many books. There is no single day that I sit down or I say that let me have a plan of writing a book. No. I am very consistent that every day I do this and that translates into a book. I write every single day. I read for 1 hour and I write for 1 hour intentionally. In 360 days, it becomes a book. So even
True.
the challenges of life, even building yourself as a career, it is not something that you say that it is that's a big mountain that I'll climb at a certain point. But I can assure you there will be challenges. There will be those moments that you think today I don't want to write. Or today I really don't feel like being in this space. But you have to look at a bigger picture. What is it that you want to achieve? Achieving that thing will mean both wins and losses. So you must know that, yes, this is you who wants to grow, but there is an environment that is also exerting its own pressure against you. In an office, you have a team. Like, for example, now you are a leader. You want really to succeed, but there are those people will be pulling you down. You don't give up and fail because they are pulling you down. You find a way of reshaping them so that you are able to build or you are able to move in one direction. So just like the way as a leader, you take those decisions on people, you take those decisions on yourself. The moments when you are down or the moments things are not working, You find a way to reinvent yourself, change your strategy, your perspective, change your vision, change your thoughts, and then you just find yourself moving on. It's those small movements day by day that will make you be able to realize that big dream or that success that you're looking for in your career. So that's basically how I look at it. You'll get down, you'll feel those low moments, but you can still always be able to do something small that will translate into what you really dream to become.
I couldn't agree more. I, I cannot count how many times I wrote in my, that you can write in a journal and say, I would like to start a podcast.
Mhm.
And then you look at everything you need to have to do a podcast. And then I settled on the webinar series. And the introvert in me said, you know what, we'll never be ready. So we'll just start.
Mm. So,
And that's how I found myself to what, how we are having this conversation today. And yes, it's true. You'll never feel ready enough.
mm,
But sometimes it's the, as you clearly said, it's the bigger picture, what it is that you want to achieve that will remain as a key motivator for you to translate that into reality.
so
Okay. What mindset shifts are important for someone approaching retirement and wondering what comes next? Yeah.
hey, that's an interesting one. That
It's, retirement is coming. It's nigh.
mm. But the reality is, there are certain
Mhm.
things that are very natural in us. There are certain thoughts that right now, the things that are in my mind, if I were to be like this at my 20s, I think I would not enjoy life. So sometimes what I normally say as far as this conversation about retirement is yes, it is important for you to start thinking because for sure it will come. Yeah.
Yeah,
But I cannot expect a Gen Z, somebody who is 25, to think about retirement the way I'm thinking about it now.
true.
So it is important in as much as we teach some of these things, we remind people of some of these things, we also allow or give room for natural, growth to take place. I want to give you an example, even in financial preparedness. When I just joined the bank, the salary was so small, but we were being pushed, to save, save, save. The 1,000 shillings that I was saving, when the inflation that has hit us up to today, it's really not big value. So it's sometimes building the practice or building the habit that is more important than the actual thing that you are doing. Make sure that everything that you are doing, you build your career progressively to the point that by the time now you are getting to retirement, your expenses should be at a certain level. I don't expect you to, even in your career, that by the time you are retiring, like me retiring soon, that I will still be, incurring huge expenses in terms of education for my children, in terms of, paying rent and all those kind of things. They'll bog you down. So as you are growing in your career, start mapping your career knowing that retirement will come. So that by the time your mind slowly shifts, you start putting your priorities where they really should be. When you are very young, when you are young, when you are entering the job space, perhaps a direct financial savings will not mean a lot of things, but assets will mean a lot because they will grow in value. So think as you grow within the continent, and their expert will be able to share some very good insight on how you can be able to save progressively. They will tell you about the power of compounding, the small, that allows you also to have that natural growth. As I am planning myself, my last 5 years of work should be about no any should not be about any expenditure other than retirement saving. And that short period of time, even that money will not be affected so much by inflation. But my preparedness with my family now is buying things like insurance for the education of my children, so that I set them aside. There are expenses that are in future, but I'm incurring them now. So I think the way you plan yourself, both economically, spiritually, even socially, matters a lot. At my age right now, if I would be going out the way I was going out when I was 20, 30s, then there's something wrong. Because remember, going out spent is money. Yeah.
Yeah.
So the way you position yourself with the things you do in the social space, in the economic space, in the career space, everything must be also growing. Even when your number of friends are going down, that's growth in itself.
True.
Some people think that it is not growth, eh? But remember, the more friends you have, sometimes the more you spend. Yeah. I'm not saying that you chase away your friends, but you be deliberate on the kind of friends and what the mindset of the friends that you have. I can have many friends with the same mindset. That is growth. Than if I have friends who I am at my late 40s now, but a bulk of my friends are in their early 30s, and our spending patterns are the same. Then that is not growth. So even in your career, take along people. I'm not saying that you don't have young people as your friends, but please be able to understand where are your priorities and where are the priorities of those other people that you call your friends or that you are in the same groups with. So for me, those are clarity that you must have even as you grow in your career. So that when you exit, you don't, exit as a very sad HR person. People will ask, you worked for all this year, and then what is the benefit of it? Yeah. So for me, those are clear things that I put, even as you think about, approaching now retirement.
And I totally agree. They are very vital. But I think also one of the things people struggle with or probably do not plan for when it comes to retirement is you can have a very good saving pension, a very good pot of funds that you really don't have to worry about, your medical expenses, your day-to-day expenses. However, when you have been working, for example, if you've been employed, your body has been accustomed to a certain way. You wake up early, you go to work, you come back home, etc., etc. And when you're working, you can hardly wait to retire so that you rest. However, when you get to that moment of rest, if you do not have activities that will keep you engaged, we normally find those individuals, going down into depression, not because they don't have the money. They do have the money. They have secured their future, but they do not have activities that are allowing them to feel, you are adding value to life or you're having an impact onto people. What can you comment on that in that perspective of, for example, like yourself, if you were to retire today, you're still you're still an author, you're still a lecturer, you are still a priest. All these things are part and parcel of who you are as Stefan. But if for someone who, you've only identified, for example, if I just take myself and just say I'm a HR professional, I'm employed, maybe I don't have anything going on the side. The quality of life for the two of us, even if we were to retire on the same day and have the same value in terms of the pot, quality of life is going to be different. How can you, or what are your thoughts on that? And I'm not saying that taking vacations are bad; they are good, but it will only be up to a certain point, and then you'll be like, what next? I'm getting bored.
Mm. That is very true. You can't even when you retire, irrespective of the amount of money you have, you
Yeah,
can't be in vacation forever.
exactly.
So vacation cannot be your career in retirement.
True.
And now that's where again what I'm talking about, being deliberate about everything really matters. You know, many a times I hear this conversation about what will people do in retirement. Yes, you say that there is somebody who now has the money, so money is not a problem. You may not have a problem with money, but remember, you may have a problem with, the social interaction. I can assure you that in as much as yes, it is a societal problem that we think that people who have retired have no value, that's not the reality. If you look at the productivity, researches by age, you go to places like America, they say that people who are very productive, actually the highest level of productivity for people is between the age of 55 and 65.
Wow.
Actually, some of them extend up to 70. Why am I saying that? At age 60, when you are leaving your workplace, the experience that you've built, the efficiency with the way you are doing even the things, any work that you're doing, and of course, it's not for everybody, not for those people who are not deliberate in even in building those skills. I'm talking about somebody who is deliberate in building themselves, building their experience, and building their capacity. Your value is even higher post your retirement than before. Why are we not thinking as a society in terms of how can I be able to add value in the social place? There are many youth who do not have direction. There are many schools which do not have teachers or people who can be able to guide them. We have many people who are leaving school, but they really do not have real life experience. What is it that you can be able to think about that you can use to be able to add value post your retirement? Of course, me, I'm a priest. After 60, I'll be doing my ministry and evangelism everywhere across the country. But then there are many people who will need your skill as an HR practitioner. But it depends on how you position yourself within that societal space to enable people to, to see that value from you and to get that value from you. So if you are like lucky, somebody you say, I don't have any problem with money, but why don't
Mhm.
you go and offer that skill to, to a home somewhere, to the village? Many a times I go to my village, I find people, young people who do not have anything that they do. What conversation can you be able to add even back there in the village? But of course, yes, remember, people will only be able to listen to you if they can be able to look at you and see like there is some value in you. There is one senior leader in this country who is more busier today. His name features more than I've ever even thought, even when he was in employment. The guy called Martin Oduor. Everybody wants to call him in their organization to go and talk about leadership.
Yep.
I'm so sure must have been something that he was very deliberate about and built that capacity even when he was working. Who will know that a big CEO like him will transform into a thought leader sought about from any organization? Be selling more books than I'm selling at my younger age. It's
True.
about positioning. Yeah,
True. As of today, I saw that he's been appointed a director at Sunlam. You
you can
know.
imagine.
Yeah. So it's how you position yourself, and it's like you're not only investing in yourself, but you're also investing in the environment you're in.
True.
So even away from the career that people knew you for,
Mm.
they still see that value and they still want the insights and the expertise you have to offer. Makes sense. Makes a lot of sense.
There's
Okay.
so much you can do. There's so much you can do for the society post retirement.
Yeah.
It's only that we've narrowed our thought, we've narrowed our mind
Yeah.
into that space. Though it's a societal thing, it's not an individual thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, many of us, when we retire, the first thing that you think is taking a bus to Kisumu. And then you go into a village, You did not even prepare yourself for that village. So you go there, you are a stranger, people don't even know you. When you go back there on retirement, you find yourself alone. For
Yeah.
me, when I go home, I'm busier than when I'm in Nairobi because I've maintained my connectivity there. I find I don't even know who people knew I was coming to the village. They called me to go for a church in some place, and you are busy because you put on that connectivity. So for me, retirement will really not be a big thing. In fact, I think I'll even be busier than I am today. Today some people will not call me because they know I'm at the workplace.
Yeah.
But when all of them are thinking that I'm home resting, the invitations will come.
Which then speaks to the need for relationship building, not only within the families, but also within, the environment you're in. Because let's take a simple example. Let's say the man is working in the city and the wife and the children are back in the village. Now, if you have not been intentional in ensuring that the relationship, even within your nuclear family, is strong enough, the day you move from the big city and come to the village, you're the stranger in that house. It does not matter if you are the man of the house. So, the relationships that you build, not only with your family, with the environment, your neighbors, being, how can I put it, using the expertise that you have and trying to input that to the people, the young people around you, as an example. I think that by itself will give you a better, softer landing than when you expect, because you've come from the big city and go back to the village. Everything, a red carpet will be laid out for you. No, it will be harder for you to adapt.
But I think something that is very important, sometimes when I say this, people, don't take it very kindly, but it is a reality.
Yeah,
It is very, very important that this issue of I work in town, my wife stays with children in the village. It's overtaken by time. Live with your family. If for sure I have to work in Nairobi and my family have to stay at home because I cannot be able to afford housing for them in Nairobi, then I don't think I really need that job. I should be working in a space. I'm better off with, if I must do that job in Nairobi, I better off stay with my family in that one room in Kariobangi than to have my family stay at home and I work in the village. Because the little money that you are getting, you know, it may be doing something economically, but socially, the gap becomes very weak, very big.
yeah,
So for me, my advice has always been this, even to the young people who do, you know, some of the small jobs. Find a space with your couple to work in a place where you will be with your family. Don't mind about the size of the room you stay in. Even if it is a 9 by 9, be there with these people, build their capacity with the little money that you are getting. If it cannot work, there are a lot of things you can do in the village and still bring up that family than that separation because of the amount of money. Very, very critical. And that is a very important aspect of career growth as well.
yeah. Social networks. I think and unfortunately, over time, we have become more and more secluded, where you do not know who your neighbor is. Back in the day, back in the 90s, if you had a neighbor come in, people used to go and, go with welcome to the estate. Nowadays, you do not know your neighbor. You do not know, those close ties are really not there. We've become very individualistic. And sometimes the solutions you're seeking to have are within those neighbors of yours or those people that are around you. So let's take the time to build those social networks, because you never know who is going to come through for you when you need that solution, or you being the solution for them. True. Okay. what, oh, sorry, how do you evaluate whether a role or path is still pouring into you? So you have done the pivot. Maybe you've done a pivot because that's where the passion is, but pivot or no pivot, how do you, that satisfaction, that enrichment, how do you know that that role or the path that you're taking is still pouring into you, and that pouring into you is, that enrichment, that happiness in the path that you've taken, that satisfaction.
We had a very interesting conversation with our group MD and CEO. He was telling us that he was looking at a space where, as employees in the organization, on a Friday, when we are going home, we cry. And then on a Sunday, as we look forward to coming back to work, we celebrate. And he explained it further. You cry because if you can imagine how you love your job, that now you are going to miss it over the whole weekend, you are not working, you cry. And I was like, hey, I think I don't think any Kenyan will get to that space. We look forward to Friday
Yes,
so
yes, we
much.
do.
We look for, and when a holiday is announced, we are like, yeah. I can tell you for a fact that I've been in spaces where I really feel that I just want to go and do that, finish that assignment. You know,
Yeah.
I'm like, I want to do it. I want it to come out this way. I'm doing this for staff. I want it to come out this way. I want to see the value. I want to see, are they happy about it? Hmm? What is happening? What is the feedback? When I'm in that space, or when you are in that space where you really want to see the outcome of what you are doing, you want to test by looking, by comments, you are in your career moment. The day you start finding that you are still going to work and you don't care about the outcome, it means you are at the top. Think about moving. The work you are doing is only important when it is adding value to another person's life. And that value, you feel it.
True.
If you
Mental.
don't feel it, if you don't feel it, umekwisha kwa hiyo career. Your career must prick you. It must make you uncomfortable to give solutions. You must be anxious to see the results. If that is not happening to you, it is routine. Perhaps it is because of the bills. I think you are out of it.
Mental resignation is real. You are doing things so that they just get done, not because there's anything special or extra you're doing. You're just doing
Or,
the bare minimum.
or maybe to pay bills.
Yeah,
Again, if you've not been very strategic enough to build capacity in terms of finances. Yeah.
true. How do you balance practicality with the desire for fulfillment? Just building onto what you were talking about.
Yeah, you see, there are certain things that sometimes you really want to do, but they don't give value. But you must do them.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, you must do them. There are decisions that I make in HR that I really would not want to make.
Sorry about that. Bit of connectivity issue, but Stefan will be back online in a minute. I hope you are enjoying the conversation. Thank you for joining us live. If you're joining us on LinkedIn or on YouTube, appreciate your patronage. Tonight we are talking about pivot points, reinventing yourself mid career. Just to go through a couple of points as we wait for Stefan to resume this conversation. One has to be deliberate about the change that they have to make. So you need to build your skills. You need to leverage on your current skills. What are your transferable skills? You need to identify what is your unique value proposition. Just don't go over onto the other side empty handed. It's critical for you to play by the rules. You have to be ethical. You have to live based on your values. Cross functional collaboration is critical. It helps you understand what other functions do and how they operate. But also, over time, you become dependable and valuable to not only the team you are currently existing in, but also to the other players. Welcome back, Stefan. Sorry about that.
Sorry.
So, we were talking about how do you balance practicality with the desire for fulfillment.
Yeah, basically what I was saying that there are many things that sometimes you'll just have to do. They are not really you know making you happy, but they still have to be done. Like many decisions that we make within HR. Yeah, I was talking to you about an example like having to make a very difficult decision to terminate somebody. It doesn't give you any fulfillment, but you see, it is something that has to be done
Yeah.
at a certain point in time. And that applies to many other decisions that we make in life. Eh? If you have children, there are certain times that you'll be pushed to a corner to do things that perhaps you'd not really have wanted to do. Because you are having two different lives that you are controlling. And since we normally are not in charge of other people's life, even your children. So sometimes you just have to settle for certain things. You planned to do something in a certain way, but the realities of life are bringing them in a completely different way. Then you just have to balance. Even in our careers, I've been in organizations. I see some organizations where even the leadership are rotated. Sometimes you really don't want, but you are in that structure. So depending on how you are, the space where you are, I think it's very important for you also to recognize, the environment and the dynamics within your environment and appreciate them. Just like in the space, we pay very high taxes. Do we really want to? We can't, but it is subjected to us. So I think instead of crying, you find how can you be able to get a better value out of what is left in your space. So it's just that clear understanding that it's not everything that you want that will happen the way you want it. In the workplace, there are certain decisions you'll make because they are good decisions to make for the majority. But do they make you satisfied as a person? The answer is no. So I think that balance is very, very important. Removing yourself in the space and allowing sometimes things to happen, as long as in your heart the decisions you are making, the things that you are doing them in good faith. Then I think you'll be okay.
I agree. I agree. Now, as we come to the tail end of this enriching conversation, looking back, what would you tell your younger self about change and growth? You've been there,
Well,
you've done that. What would you tell 20-year-old Stefan, 30-year-old Stefan? What would you tell your younger self?
there are many things that I will tell this to find that their decision about about even career growth, about career choices. Because sometimes, for honest, sometimes, in as much as yes, we are saying that experience is good and you can be able to transfer them, there are certain decisions that you make in life that perhaps you could have done better. Like, for example, if my younger self would have had the capacity that I had, I would even choose different schools. You know, I would read differently. I would study differently, for that matter. I would build relationships differently because I'm realizing that relationships is very, very important. Yeah. The things that friends that perhaps I took for granted, I would pitch differently for them. And of course, yes, I can tell you without fear that even planning my finances would be different. Each and every one of us would look back and say that I'm sure if I were to rewind life, I would do it differently. But do I have regrets about the decisions that I made, the career moves that I made? The answer is definitely not. I always believe that the best of my life is ahead and I can be able to achieve it from the decisions that I make today. So I don't live in regret. But my younger self in 30s, the conversations that I'm having, if you are me in 30 today, perhaps I would just tell you to. So that's it for me.
Okay. The final question is, if there's one reassurance you'd leave with someone quietly questioning their next chapter, what would it be?
Very simple. If you think about it, start. Don't fear. But very important, don't just change career. Plan for career change. Plan for career change. Don't make this funny mistake. Unless, like I said again, remember there are certain career changes that are pushed on us. Unless it is something that the external has pushed on you, please plan for your career change. I have seen people who make career decisions or career change decisions without thinking through properly, and they've landed themselves and their families in very big problems. I've seen somebody who changed career. He wanted to move from banking to do business. That's career change in itself. And you are going to start on something that you have never even tested. And nobody is sending you away from the job. Please be very, very careful. Some of the decisions that we make on our own. So plan, but do not fear. The planning is the space for you to be able to move seamlessly, but not the fear. The fear is the one that will now hold you back that you don't make a change. Make a change, but plan for that change.
That's very critical. Make the change, but plan for the change.
Yes,
Just don't jump,
true.
over a cliff blindly. Whatever it is that you want to do,
Mm,
plan for it.
plan for it.
Stefan, thank you so much for joining us for this discussion. You've lived it, you've provided with us practical examples, or examples of how you navigated it. And there are very many people who have done the same, and I bet they would say the same of what you've shared or add on to what you've already shared. I cannot thank you enough for showing us that change is change is not a threat to what your life can be in the future.
true.
All you have to do is to be intentional about it, and the need to plan for that change. You have to embrace change because, as we all know, change is the only constant.
Yes.
Any parting shot for all of us that are listening to you tonight?
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I think for me, my parting shot is career is a lifelong thing. My friend, getting from your 20s to your 60 is a long period of time. For many of us, thinking that you will do one thing from your 20 to your 40 is not practical. Within that period of time, you can change your career twice, you can change it three times, you can change it four times. But every time your mind tells you that you really need to move, don't just jump on it, just as I've said. Be very deliberate, plan for it. But don't be scared even if you change your career three times or four times or even five times. There's nothing wrong with that. But every career change, you must be able to celebrate a growth in it. Again, don't be, don't be moved or don't be swayed by every other career. You are a doctor today, you want to be a pilot, you want to be a teacher, you want to be a lawyer, then again, that is not strategic. And by the way, find linkages between careers. It is funny for you to be a doctor and then plan career change to be a pilot. They are world apart. Eh? I don't even think which experience you'll be able to transfer from one space to the other. Within your career domain, there will always be something closer and that you can be able to easily transfer or to move into. So for me, that would be basically the only advice I will tell anybody who really want to change. Don't fear, plan. As you plan, look at relativities, and don't think that you will do your 40 years in your career in one space.
True, very true.
Thank you.
Career is a lifelong thing,
True.
and as you plan to pivot, find linkages between your career because it's easier for you to transfer. You learn things, relatable things.
True.
You're not saying that you be complacent, just saying that don't go for extremes
Yeah.
because you will be putting now challenges and hurdles that you will then not enjoy this change that you are seeking.
True.
Thank you very much for joining us tonight. Thank you very much to everyone that joined us watching live on LinkedIn, watching live through the YouTube channel. I cannot thank you enough for your patronage. Tonight's topic: pivot points, reinventing yourself mid-career. I hope you have enjoyed the discussion, and I hope you are walking away with gems that you can apply in your life. Might be yourself or maybe someone that you know who might be at this stage of their life. Tell them to watch the clip. I bet they will walk away with a lot of insights. I thank you enough and I look forward to seeing you in the next session of Unplugged with Ross. Until then, thank you very much. Wishing you a lovely evening, and wherever you are joining us from the world, have yourself a lovely time. See you until next time.